Hey, what's up everybody? Welcome to section 2 of this course. We're going to get into cutting out the images. If you want to use your own images or if you want to use the sample images that I've provided here, you can follow along exactly how I'm doing it. These are just some that I haven't used before, haven't cut these out before, so you're going to go through this whole process with me, and I promise it won't be too boring. Once we get lined out on a task here, then you guys can just pause it and then finish that task. I'll cut ahead to the next task, that sort of thing. So it won't be you just watching me cut out these images for an hour, you know what I mean? So we'll try to keep it short and sweet for you, but just make sure that you pause it and do the things that I do and kind of follow along with me here and stay caught up, and it'll be super easy and it'll all make sense in the end, I promise.
All right, everybody, welcome to the desktop here. We're just going to dive right into it. So you'll see here in just a second, I'm going to open up. This is my folder structure. The first thing that we need to do is open these photos up into, I like to use Lightroom. You can open them straight into Photoshop and edit them there if that's your preferred. We're going to use Photoshop for the remainder of this, but this first little section here real quick is just, this is how my workflow goes when I import photos into Lightroom to edit them anyways. So if we're at an event or wherever we're at, we make a customer folder, and in this case, it's going to, you can see my folder structure right here. We go open with other than Lightroom and we choose Lightroom here, and then that opens it up into Lightroom. Okay, that just took a quick second here to open up Lightroom. We're going to hit import in the bottom right corner, and then that imports these into here. So if you're familiar with Lightroom and how it works, you can skip ahead a little bit, but this won't take very long. Real quick at editing photos and that sort of thing in Lightroom. It doesn't take very long. So it opens it up into the library here real quick, and you can see all of these. You can hit D for develop. That works too, but I clicked develop up here in the right corner. Generally, I'll hit D. Up here in the top left corner, you'll see that you can just hit I, and it'll toggle through that, and it'll tell you what lenses you use and that sort of thing. So off to the left-hand side here, it shows you the different user presets that I've created, and I've just created these presets based on I've just edited a photo and then saved it as a preset. It's pretty straightforward, but I do it for each lens because there's lens corrections in there. And then if we're strobed or if we're doing award shots, that sort of thing. So all of these have they're just a quick and easy way for us to edit photos faster because speed is king here. So I'm just taking down the highlights, up in the shadows a little bit, darkening the blacks just a smidge. I just kind of go through that basic panel real quick. I'm going to show you what that preset does here. So we do some manual vignetting because this is that 120 to 300 lens, and I am shooting in JPEG. You'll see that there too. So we don't always have lens corrections in JPEG. And then I did a layer mask there for the sharpening effect. And then none of these, the rest of these, I just don't use them. That preset doesn't do anything else really. It's just a pretty straightforward basic edit. No big deal. And then this is where you can, save your own presets if you so decide to, if you're so inclined. So what we'll do here is hold shift and then click the last picture in the row. And you'll see I didn't do the award shot because we're using that same preset and that same kind of basic edit to edit all of those real quick. And then I'll go through to each one real quick and just do the basic panel and, adjust the highlights and the shadows and the white point and the black point just to kind of dial it in. And all I'm really going to look at is just Ben here. This is my friend, and he's one of the producers that I shoot for often. And I know I'm just going to use that headshot of him, and I'm going to skip his healer. I already just kind of know that. When you're working with your customers, you're going to want to talk to them and see if they want their partner in it or not, if they're doing team roping or other events, like barrel racing. It's just the horse and rider and the barrel that you're going to want in those shots. And generally that's pretty straightforward. You don't have to ask if they want anything crazy. And then for award shots, I use this different preset for awards. And then here we're just going to bring down the highlights a little bit. I'm just watching the center of their face right there where it's the brightest. and then watching that go, just tweak it back and forth till I like it. And at the same time, I'm watching the histogram up in that top right corner, and you'll see it's very dark. It's very much shifted to the left, but you can see that little hump right in smack in the middle. That is the exposure for like their faces and that sort of thing. So as long as that is properly exposed, we're good. And we're gonna cut these guys out anyway. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna select all of them, go open with Photoshop, and then open them all in layers. You'll see that at the very bottom back there. This way, they all open in one document in Photoshop, and they are already in layers. So it makes it easy for us to work with. We don't have to create a new document in Photoshop and then make layers after that. It does it all in one whack. It's super nice. The other nice thing about going to Lightroom first is every time we save it, it'll show back up in Lightroom. So that's super handy. So you'll see here, they're just populating in Photoshop, and my computer's running a little slow because I'm doing the screen recording and running Photoshop, and Lightroom is open. So it's taxing the system a lot. So that's why it's a little bit slower here. In the future, in this video here, I'm going to just chop up where it goes slow, and then we'll speed it up. And I'll do some stuff that's just fast forwarded, and then I'll do some where we just cut ahead in time, because there's no sense in you guys watching me cut this out for, I don't know, I think it took me 2 hours to cut this stuff out this morning. Okay, so what you're going to see here is this has been, and these are the shots that maybe he would have chosen. He did pick out some of these. I've printed them for him already, but the rest of these, I've just picked them out for us. You'll see on the right-hand side here, I'm just clicking off the layers to show you guys that all the layers are, in fact, over there. And we can just click the little eye on the left-hand side of each layer, and that will hide each layer or show each layer and toggle it on and off that way. So we're going to start with this one here. We're going to grab the pen tool and just show you how we cut these out. So you want to go, you can hit P for pen tool, or you can just go over here on the left where the toolbar is and just use the standard pen tool. You'll see there's some other options in here for like a curvy pen tool and that sort of thing. The standard pen tool works just great. Now, there's several ways to use this pen tool. One of them is just to like click and then drag, and it'll make a curve. And you could make nice smooth curves around, horses' tails and the different parts of the animal and the riders and all those things. But what I like to do is just click once and then click again and again and again. I find that when you try to make a nice smooth curve and do a big photo, a big cutout like this, it really taxes the system. And I've had Photoshop crash on me because it's like too much for it. So what I like to do, and it works just fine, and you'll see why here in a second, we'll get into it. But all I'm doing is making small sections, and the tighter the curve, the closer your points need to be. A long straight line can just be a long straight line with very few points in between. And you'll see here, I'm trying to go a little bit on the inside. Because what we're going to do in a minute is we're going to make this into a selection, and then we're going to feather it by 1 pixel. So we want to be on the inside of our subject. So we don't want to have the background shown here. We want to, when we feather the pixel, we don't want any of that background sneaking in. So in a little bit here, I'll zoom in more so you can see more closely that I am shifted just slightly in from the edge. And that'll help us make for a cleaner background, a more natural looking background. It'll help kind of blend better. It'll look like it was supposed to be there. Because when the camera captures an image, it's not an exact cutoff. So it's, you see, like this image is very sharp, and it is shot with my 1DX Mark II from Canon, which is a pro body. And I'm using professional glass. I mean, it's very, very sharp. But when you zoom in this close, you'll see that it is a little bit like feathered. So you'll see a little bit of that contamination of colors from the background onto the subject. So that's why we're going to just cut off a little bit on the inside. You can see very clearly on the black, like where his hat was and the back of his collar here. And I just, you can hit Command Z there to undo. But you'll see I'm just shifted in just a little bit, and that'll help us when we cut it out and we put it against a different colored background, that it doesn't look strange. You know, it looks like it was supposed to be there. It almost looks like we shot it like that, you know, so it looks really nice. And we're just zooming in here nice and close so we can see all of the details and do a really nice job. And I know it does take a long time and it does seem really tedious, but in the bonus section at the end, section 8, we're going to talk about some ways to circumvent this system here so we can have somebody else do it, for example. And I'll show you guys some links to the people that I use to cut out my pictures, and I'll show you how to find your own people to cut out your pictures. But we're just going through. You can see on that tight curve, like at the point of his hat there, I put those points really close together. And then when we have a long straightaway, we put those points further away. And it just, you know, instead of having to try and make the curve fit, you're just, you know, click, click, click. And, you know, a lot of times I'll just put in an audiobook or a podcast, like the Equine Photo School podcast, for example, and just, you know, listen while I work. And this is, you know, kind of a mind-numbing thing to do, but you know, I don't know, it's the way I did it for a long time, and it's the way I still do it sometimes. If, for example, somebody needs this in a very fast turnaround, if we can't wait to send it out to somebody and have them send it back, this is a fine way to just, you know, get it done the same day. You know, a lot of times I design some covers for my parents' newspaper, and I do the same kind of thing here. And a lot of times that's a tight turnaround, tight deadline. I don't have time to send those images off to somebody to be cut out. So I'll just cut them out myself. And yeah, it might take 15 minutes or 30 minutes or whatever to do an image. When you're doing these custom collages and you have 3 to 5 images, yeah, that can take quite a while. Once you know, you start adding all those together. But if you're just doing 1 or 2, you know, it's just something you just get done yourself. The people that cut it out for me, you know, they take 24 hours. I've had some people take 10 days to get me my images cut back, or images back from being cut out. So we're just going to fast forward through the rest of this process here real quick, and then I'll catch up with you soon. Okay, as we start to get down here to the bottom of the leg here and the hoof, and where the hoof meets the ground here, you're going to see me kind of just cut it. And we go really fast, just a quick little thing, because what I'm going to do later on is we're going to bring all this back in. So it's not going to matter. I just do, and I wasn't really thinking here, I usually just do like a nice, just a point. So I bring it down. I don't just cut the leg off right there, but I'll bring it all the way down so I can see where the hoof meets the ground, and just put one point there and then bring it back up and then go again. Because what we're going to do in here in the future is bring in this smoke brush that I use, and I'll give you guys access to that smoke brush too, so you can do the same thing. But what we're going to do, see, I just made it like a point, boom, just a rough cutout of the leg right there. Pretty easy. And then what we're going to do is we're going to use that smoke brush to bring this dirt back in, so it looks like the dirt's kind of flying up in there, and then you'll see the whole hoof right there. And then you won't, that's why we don't have to worry about cutting it out precisely. It can just be like a stub right there, and we're going to bring it all back. And then we're going to bring it up a little bit above where the hoof meets the ground. And that's going to kind of look like dust is flying or dirt is flying or whatever. And it's just all done with this quick and easy brush. And I'm going to show you how we operate and do that too. It just makes for a simple, clean little thing. So we'll speed this back up for you real quick. This is 20 times the speed that I normally do it. But once I get to this tail here, you'll see I just do a real rough cut on this tail. Just to kind of remind myself in the future that this tail is here, and then, you know, I just kind of buzz around it real quick. We're going to use that smoke brush to bring this tail back into, and it's going to look just fine. You're not going to notice it in the final product that I've done this rough cut. we're going to bring it back so it does look fairly decent, even though we just did a rough cut. Now here we go to the end here, and we meet these two lines together, and that you see the path changes to blue now instead of white dots, and you'll see that we've made a path all the way around Ben and his horse, and we've included part of the rope. Okay, now I'm slowing this down for you guys, but in this top left corner, I've clicked Make Selection, and now this Make Selection pop-up window comes up. This is really important here. We want to feather this by 1 pixel, and we want to leave everything else the same. Make sure it says New Selection, and then we're just going to hit OK here. And this is going to create a nice selection all the way around Ben and his horse and everything we've outlined here. And it's going to feather it by the 1 pixel that we planned on doing earlier. Now we're going to leave that selected, make sure the layer is selected on the right hand side, and then down at the very bottom right corner it says add layer mask. You click on that, boom. Everything that is black in a layer mask is hidden, and everything that is white is shown. So you'll see in that little thumbnail there, if we disable it, all the pixels are there. We haven't deleted anything. We haven't deleted pixels. Everything is still there. We're just hiding some parts and showing some other parts. Now we're going to go with the pen tool again, make another path around this little spot of background that we see through here. And we're going to complete cutting out this and removing that background. But you'll see on that layer where that layer mask is that we just built, we are having that layer mask selected. We go make selection again, just like we did a second ago. We want to make sure the background layer is black, background color is black. And then we're going to hit Command Delete. And now that fills in with the background color. And anything, like I said a second ago, anything that is black is going to be hidden. So what we did there is we made a selection and we filled it in with black using the shortcut keys Command Delete. You can use that shortcut key anytime. It doesn't delete the pixels, even though it is the delete key. Command Delete, once again, Command Delete fills in with the background color. It's very important to know that we are not deleting pixels because what we're going to do in the future steps here in the next section is we're going to bring some of those pixels back using brushes and gradients and different ways to add white to that layer mask and bring back those pixels so we can see them. So we don't want to delete anything. We don't want to get crazy and get carried away there. But we're just going to do the same thing here, and you'll see me do this step over and over and over as we kind of mask away these different parts where in these loops you can see the background here. So this is going to get real tedious. We'll do a quick little fast forward again here, but I just want you guys to very clearly see that over and over and over we're making that you were using the pen tool, and we're clicking and clicking and clicking and making that into a selection, feathering that by 1 pixel still. And you'll see when I fill that in with black using that shortcut key that it looks a little bit soft and it looks a little bit blurry. It almost looks like we didn't want to do it that way. But once you zoom back out, your eye will perceive that as being sharp, and it will look much more natural. So we do like to do it that way. I've seen some tutorials on YouTube that say, oh, you got to do it with 0 pixels so you get a perfectly sharp line. And that's really just not the case. It's not what I like to do. If you need something to be very precise and you're using shapes or something like that, that's great. That's fine. Definitely do it that way with 0 pixels. We are doing like organic objects like people and horses and like living things. So we want this to kind of blend together and look more realistic and more natural, even though this is an obviously non-realistic thing with the textured background and the whole thing that we're going to do in the future here in the next sections coming up. Okay, as we kind of finish up this picture here, we have now used the layer mask to mask off all the parts and pieces. I'm holding space bar, and that turns your mouse into the grabber tool, and that lets you just move the canvas around. It's super easy, just a little tip and trick. Now I'm turned off that layer, I hid that layer, and now we're going on to the next picture here. Now you've watched me cut out one picture. I'm not going to force you to watch these in real time over and over and over. Just know that I'm moving that around with the space bar, holding space bar, dragging the picture around to move it. Okay, so from here on out, it's going to be just 50 times the normal speed that I edited this thing. But I just want you to see real quick. I mean, you can still pick up lots of like little things here, but I'm just doing the same thing over and over and over for each of these pictures. It gets very monotonous, so I'm not going to put you through that, but we'll just buzz through it real quick. And you'll see I'm just going through and make sure all of the details are covered. That tail was kind of cut off there, so we're kind of fixing that up. This is an area where you can kind of fix things and adjust things and make it look right as you go here. And, we're just not worried about the ground there yet. We're not worried about the hooves and that sort of thing. Not paying too much attention to hair. We're just generally getting it cut out, and we're going to finesse it a little bit later with like a really easy sort of way. And then this last picture that we're going to do here is going to be the award shot. And then we'll basically be done, and I'll show you what it looks like when it's all complete. At this point, we've completed all of the cutting out that we're going to do. All of the masks are done. And this is the award shot that we have here. Now I'll hide that award shot, show you each of these was cut out. And that one where there was just half a steer in there, I just know that I'm probably not even going to use the steer at all in the shot. But I just wanted at least the front half of him to be there. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you in the next section.